Hello, and thank you very much for joining this LexisNexis webinar. I'm Matthew Leopold, and I look after brand and strategic insights here at LexisNexis. And today we're going to be talking about running a small law firm. And running a small law firm is no easy feat. From ordering tea bags to fixing laptops, or perhaps even having to do some client work, smaller firm leaders, through necessity, need to wear many hats. And for years, potentially the limit to growth for these leaders was the time that they had available to them. And suddenly we're seeing a world with the inventor or the progression of AI as perhaps taking some of the weight of that legal practice. Some of that effort has been eased. And the big question is this now the Enlightenment era for smaller law firms? And today we're joined by a fabulous panel of smaller firm leaders and experts from across the UK. We're joined firstly by Lubna. Lubna Shuja is the founder of Swan Solicitors, but she's probably more familiar to you from her role as the immediate past president of the Law Society. Lubna champions diversity, ethics, and innovation in the law. And I've known Lubna for many years now, and I have to say her drive to bring change to the entire world, not just the law, is really quite inspiring. Also joined by Zoe Bloom, who is a founding partner at I've lost my notes. AFP Bloom, a top-tier family law firm that specializes in complex financial remedies. And Zoe has been recognized by Chambers as fiercely intelligent and an incredible litigator. So I'm going to have my wits about me, I think, as I start to ask Zoe some difficult questions about the role of small law. And then we're also joined by Iwona Durlak, who is the co-founder and senior partner at IMD Solicitors. Again, specializing in international family law, high-value divorces, cross-border child matters. So some really meaty and tricky stuff there. Iwona has been recognized by the Legal 500 and by the LexisNexis Family Law Awards for the work that she's done. She's built quite a bit of a following for the things that she's done to help clients protect their interests across multiple jurisdictions. So thank you very much indeed, panel, for joining us today. Let me start by throwing the first ball to Lubna. Lubna, you have spent an entire career advocating for access to justice and innovation in the world of the law. Given your experience, what is the most significant challenge that small law firms face today? And because we want to be positive, what's the most significant challenge, but also what are the biggest opportunities for those smaller law firms?
Yes, thank you, Matthew. Just to correct one thing, I'm a former president as opposed to the immediate past president of the Law Society. Just to clarify that. Yeah, I mean, the key thing I think for small firms, time, costs, resources. That tends to be where most of the issues lie. Haven't got enough time, need to reduce costs. Costs are going up, and how can I quickly find what I need and when I need it? And I think AI absolutely has opportunities that need to be, a lot of firms would really benefit from using a really good AI tool. It's more efficient, so for example, automating legal research. AI tools can help you analyze case law, they can help you analyze statutes, and they can do it really, really quickly. I mean, they can do it in seconds, as opposed to lawyers that might be doing it in hours. And they can answer legal questions in plain English, making it easier to tell clients what the position actually is. As lawyers, we're often very guilty of getting into legal speak, and putting things in terms that clients understand is really important, and AI can help you to do that. But one of the things that I think a lot of smaller law firms may not realize is that a good AI tool can help you save time when it comes to drafting and reviewing documents. It can review, it can draft, it can even suggest amendments. So, things like contracts, tenancies, pre-action letters, demand letters, wills, probate, employment agreements. Using AI can help to reduce errors. It can help you actually deal with more clients, allow you to take on more cases. And, it's so intuitive that it can look at a document and it can actually tell you if things are missing from that document, or if the document has got something a little bit unusual in it. or it can analyze deviations from standard templates, which I think many people may not be aware of. And I think most people will know that when it comes to discovery in litigation, AI is absolutely fantastic for being able to really quickly search through thousands and thousands of documents and identify evidence that might be relevant to your case. And not only that, but also suggest questions or queries that you might want to raise based on the information that you have received. Another area I think that's really challenging for small firms where AI can be really useful is compliance documents. Often we talk to small firm leaders and they say, oh my God, I spend so much time dealing with compliance. It's doing my head in. Regulations are changing all the time. Things are happening. I've got to keep on top of it. How do I make sure I stay up to date? Well, how you do that is you use a good AI tool, because that will give you the most up-to-date version of whatever you need. I mean, you can easily download AML policies, data protection policies, client confidential, but all this kind of policies that you need to have in place, you can get those from AI really, really quickly. And there are actually some firms out there that are already using chatbots, which is a form of AI. And they use that so a client can come into your website, I know we hate talking to chatbots a lot. It's like, why can't I have a person at the other end of this? But actually, they can serve a purpose. And some firms are using chatbots to now pre-screen clients, get the basic details and facts of a case, or from the basic information from a client, and then using an AI tool, it will be able to determine whether that's somebody that you can assist and want to take further, and schedule an appointment for you. And that is, how much time do we spend? I know access to justice, massive issue for me. I very rarely, don't speak to a client on the phone that might ring me, but often you will spend a lot of time on the phone hearing their backstory and all the rest of it, and just trying to work out, is this somebody I can help? Is this somebody who actually has a legal problem? Because a lot of the time, clients will contact you and they don't actually have a legal problem. They've got a problem, but it's not something that they need a lawyer for. It might be something that you can redirect elsewhere. And, and a really good AI tool can help you with that. So, for me, it's efficient, it saves time, it's client focused. And the key one, keeps you competitive and in that market, which is moving very, very quickly at the moment.
Amazing. Well, I think we're going to dig into so many of those areas as we go through here. So, Zoe, right there, everything Lubna has just talked through, this sounds incredible, right? But surely this is the territory of big, large law firms. So where do small firms like AFP bloom? Where do you have an advantage over large competitors when it comes to adopting technologies like AI?
So we can do it immediately. We can make a decision there and then. We can take a punt on something which may not work, and we can make that decision, as I say, when we look at the AI and we look at what's being provided and say, yeah, that looks like a good idea, let's try it. And so much about the implementation of AI is going to be about trial and error, particularly in the immediate period. And so we will be able, the smaller firms, we will be able to quickly take on these new ideas. And when I was asked to do this webinar, I misread it. I didn't realize it had anything to do with AI, okay? So I have spent the last 4 weeks, when I actually read it and realized I had to learn something about AI, learning about AI. It's been amazing. So I'm really grateful. Thank you, LexisNexis, for inviting me to do it, because I have now transformed the way we're going to work in the future. And the first thing that happened was that I met with somebody who is and has developed an incredible AI function, which is an add-on to websites, which gives access to clients to legal information. And it is a closed, I'm learning the lingo, right? It's a closed, whatever you call it. It's not the open ChatGPT. So I don't know who's behind it, but they've done an incredible job at creating proper responses to questions that clients want to know the answers to. I met with her on Zoom once. I met with her here to check it out. And at the end of the meeting, we agreed to start it. And on the 1st of July, we'll be the first law firm to implement it on our website. That's why small law firms work. That's why we're able to be at the forefront of it, because we can just make those decisions. I know that with that in particular new incentive, new thing, that people are scared of it, right? I know that people probably in my office are scared of it because it looks like it's going to take work away from us. That leads me to really generate the culture. And the culture is going to be so crucial within firms to get everybody on board, to not be scared of it, to try it, to test it, to taste it, to really understand what it's about. And that's something that we can do so much more efficiently because we've got smaller teams to manage, we've got smaller people, numbers of people to talk to. And I think that makes us the perfect kind of testing pot for everything that's going to be coming really, really fast, really fast.
Absolutely. No, thank you. I think that the fear side, we're definitely going to touch on it in a couple of moments. But before I do, Iwona, we talked a bit about the technology. We talked about some of those opportunities. But how is this then going to change the way that firms like yours actually deliver client advice, right? Do you see that services are going to evolve and change?
Absolutely. I think with us and our approach, we're trying to constantly observe the opportunities that AI brings to us and stay educated, stay on top of it, test any new tools, and they work. Any small even adjustments to the way we work can help with the productivity. And that just going back to what Lubna and Zoe said about the decision making, I think that's one of the things that is going to differentiate us from the big firms, because we can make those decisions quicker. But it's also the size of the teams, and we want to make sure that when we implement something, this is to increase our efficiency, this is to reduce our costs, and to make sure that the work is delivered quicker, better. And it's so much easier when you work with a smaller group of people to see, are we testing it? What are your concerns? Can we move on and implement? What is your view on it? What are the benefits? What's the worries? So it's both really, the decision making, but also the size of the team that needs to then use it, so that their investment wasn't really going to go to waste. In terms of delivering services and our cross-border work, I would say that I'm really yet to come across a tool where I could have an access to research that can map the law across jurisdictions and give you answers. So maybe this is something to watch out for, and I'm really excited about what the future can hold for us. But I think immediately, and what we're doing now is with the use of AI, we're just being so much quicker, so much more responsive, and have then a lot more time to build those relationships with our clients. Because it's, can be, people, I suppose, have different views on what the capabilities of AI systems are. And as humans, I think we struggle to accept that they may be superior in terms of delivering of any outcomes. But one thing I think it's still not going to be replaced, it's the relationship with your clients. And when you have time to work on those, I think that is the most important for us to continue deliver excellent services. So of course the speed of research and drafting. I also find it quite useful when I'm able to dictate in English and ask the tool to produce content in a different language. So I think that is quite helpful and saves awful lots of time. Also, when we receive messages from clients from other countries, to see and being able to translate it straight away to English, I think that's really helpful tool as well. But yeah, I think our clients are not only looking for legal advice; they want it to be delivered quickly. They want clarity and they want strategy. So I think that's something that can be done quicker, I guess, with AI.
Quite. So let me hop on that. And incidentally, there are some great questions coming through, and I'm going to try and weave those through in a thematic way. So do keep those questions coming. Zoe, client relationships are often really personal and trust-based. So is there a risk that the utilization of AI, using that chatbot on your website, for example, is there a risk that AI might disrupt these relationships in a negative way?
No, not if you're clever.
Go on.
So I think that you have a problem, don't you, so going back in time a little while, there was a product that people were using to triage, and I think it's something that Lubna was just talking about, really, to triage cases as they came in. And certainly in the family law world, everybody adopted it. I refused flat because I felt very, very strongly that it's in that triage conversation that you are identifying whether or not it's a relationship that's going to work. It's you're building the relationship, you're building the trust, you're getting the information that you actually need. And if I sit down with a composite asset schedule that's been put together by somebody at the start of a meeting, it's not going to help me draw out the information that I need. So I think that the relationship there needs to be managed by making sure that what the legal service is relationship. That's what it's going to be. It's going to be guiding counsel. It's going to be the provision of, that kind of level of care that's at the moment mostly being provided by partners and sort of the higher up. And I think the problem that we've got with that is that we're going to have to make sure that agency is delivered all the way down, because otherwise the associates are going to find themselves with less to do as AI steps in. So it's really important that at the top end, delegation is happening and that we're teaching people to establish those relationships and therefore being able to deliver what the clients want, which is the guidance. I've got a great example of this. I've got a case where, for whatever reason, my client left me after a long time and went to one of the much bigger firms to wanted something to happen much more. He wanted efficiency, quick, and felt that the bigger firm would be able to deliver it. And I'm sure they did a wonderful job at doing that. But he kept me on board. Why? Kept me on board to just sound things out, just check the direction of the decisions he was making. That leads to another interesting question, if that's how we're going, because in that scenario, the big firm's replaced by AI, isn't it? How do we price it?
Yeah.
Because we can't price on an hourly basis, because you've got to you're delivering to the client something which is not based on the number of hours of effort that's going into it. And you certainly can't be saying, well, it took me 10 minutes, but with all of my experience, it should have taken me 4 hours, so I'm going to bill at 4 hours, because that's like not regulatory stuff. You're not allowed to do that. So we've got to find other ways of pricing, which is a really interesting part of the discussion, and a way that small firms are able to adapt more quickly. It gives us the opportunity to try things out, as I'm saying, like taste it, test it, and see what works, and probably give clients options. If you want it next week, it's going to cost you X. If you want it in 5 weeks' time, it can be delivered, at a lower level. I don't know what the answers are to any of this, but it's all useful stuff.
Yeah. So this is interesting. So Lubna, right? We've heard very much the positive, with Zoe and Iwona very much on the forefront of adoption here, but there is caution, right? There is some skepticism, and some of that is around the true value, perhaps, to a smaller firm. Why do you think there is this hesitation in business?
I think actually, Matthew, there are a number of factors why there's some hesitation, particularly in relation to small firms. I should say at the outset, there are many, certainly I know many sole practitioners and small firms who have already embraced using AI in various ways. And I want to put that out there, because I don't think it's a question of, they're all way behind. But I think those that are not yet quite there are a number of reasons why they're having a bit of reluctance. I think, first of all, there is a lack of awareness and understanding of how AI can actually help at work and how it can save time and what it can actually do. There is a lot of hype. AI is a very trendy kind of buzzword at the moment that everybody's talking about in all sorts of forms. But a lot of people that haven't tried it don't really understand what it's going to do for them. And I think that's one of the things. I think there's confusion about where to start. And in fact, I can see from one of the questions that's come through already, somebody has said, what tools are out there that are going to be compliant with the regulations? So I think that's a fear factor that, how do we know what we're going to use is reliable? How do we know we're not going to get into trouble? I mean, that's the other issue. People are really concerned about, how do I know I can trust it? That's an issue. How can I trust what I'm using? How can I rely on what I'm using? How do I know it's not going to get me into trouble? How do I know it's not going to get, we've all heard these stories of people that have, referred to cases. I mean, I can give a couple of examples myself. I've dealt with a couple of cases where, and I'll give you one example that I had very, very recently. It was actually a litigant in person, and they'd quoted a case and said, this case shows that X, Y, Z, and that's why it needs to be taken into account. So I looked up the case, and actually the case did exist. The citation was correct. The case was correct. It was there on the relevant, I could find it quite easily. But could I find what he'd referred to? No. Couldn't find. There was no reference in that case at all to the actual principle that litigant wanted to rely on. Now that shows, and it's obvious to me straight away, he's done a chat GPT here. He's done a free, what I call the wild west, wild west of AI. He's gone on, he's put something in, it's come up with a valid citation, but actually it hasn't drawn from that the correct summary, judgment, principles, whatever it needed. So I think that for lawyers is a real big issue, that how do I know I can trust this tool? How do I know it's going to get it right? But, the key thing I think that I would say here, and I think it's important to emphasize it, AI is not the tool it's not getting it wrong. It's the lawyer that's getting it wrong. In this case, it was the litigant who hadn't taken the time and trouble to actually find the case, read the case, and check it actually said what it wanted it to say. And, a lot of these issues that we hear about where people have got themselves into trouble, and we hear courts saying, why did, this case was quoted and it didn't exist and these lawyers should have known better, blah, blah, blah. Well, actually, they should have known better. They should have checked it on a reliable source where they could verify the information. And so I think there's a fear factor, but that can be addressed and people don't need to worry about it. I think the other issue that people are, why there's a reluctance to use it is people are concerned about client confidentiality, quite understandably, and so they should be. Lawyers absolutely should be cautious about where they are uploading sensitive client data, particularly in relation to third-party platforms. And again, I would say you do not upload confidential client information to the wild, wild west of AI, which is not ring-fenced, not protected, not secure. You do not know where they are. Their pool is so wide, you don't want to put your information out there because it's going to get your information, and your information will pop up on somebody else's search. So you have to be very careful about which AI tools you're using. And I think the other thing, obviously, compliance, people are concerned about, is it GDPR compliant? Does it meet ethical and legal standards? I think those can be addressed. You can check that with the particular provider. You ask them, what have you done? How do I know this is safe? How do I know I can trust it? Where's your verification, if you want to call it that? Cost is an issue. People are worried about, what is it going to cost me? Am I going to have to keep paying for it? What are the recurring costs? Is it going to be worth it in the long term? Do I need to take on a tech member of staff who's going to be able to deal with any bugs or issues that come up with it? And I think the last thing is a lot of small firms and sole practitioners, well, not a lot, but some tend to be using older software. And that doesn't always integrate with AI tools. And I think that is another reluctance that, if I'm going to start using an AI tool, have I then got to upgrade my entire system, and what have I got to do, and is it going to be compatible, and how do I deal with that? So I think there are, it's not that straightforward. I think there are a number of reasons why people are reluctant, and I think they are genuine, valid reasons in an area that's moving very, very quickly, but I do think that they can be addressed.
Well, what a brilliantly comprehensive answer there. Thank you. And I think, Iwona, this leads very nicely into some of the stuff that I know that you have been doing in IMD. So what are the low risk, high reward AI tasks or applications that you can implement that start to build that confidence within a firm?
Just before I answer that question, so I wanted to address the costs and systems that we are using, because we're currently in the process of changing our case management system. And as it happens, we spoke with three providers, and when we've received the offers, it doesn't seem to be, and they're all more advanced than ours, and than the one that we're currently using. And when we compare the offers, they're not really necessarily an increase in our or an investment in the change that we want to implement. So I think it's, again, being aware of what is out there and asking questions. And if you want to change, it may not necessarily be the most expensive step that you are going to take. When it comes to maybe smaller steps that we could take to increase efficiency, there is a number of tools that we are using that actually help a lot with our day-to-day tasks. And I think one of them is AI note taker. So for any meeting with clients or any internal meetings, we have always AI note taker present. So we don't have to take our own notes. We don't have to do bullet points, summary points, action points after the meetings. That is already there for us. And yes, it may be not always 100% accurate. You do have to check it, but most of the time, it's absolutely fantastic. We are using something called Text Blaze as well. So you're assigning text content to a few characters of your choice, and you can pre-populate content for your emails you're sending out more than once. And it's going to work in any Word document, whether it's through your system or outside of the system. Simply by typing a couple of characters, you're going to have a text that you assign to those characters. Various translation tools as well that we're using, Copilot. So those small tools are very, very useful and save a lot of time. I remember, I think I've posted a link to it on LinkedIn when we were promoting the panel. When in 2023, I've read an interview with Mr. Justice Mostyn, and I have utter respect for this judge. It's one of my absolute favorites. But when I was reading it, I was absolutely petrified, because he was referring to AI and solicitors who are going to be potentially replaced, and the profession is at risk because we're producing those attendance notes. They're very expensive. We do the drafting, can be done so much quicker. And I was thinking, I don't think I'm there only to produce an attendance note. And here we are. Whenever I've got a meeting, I've got a tool for it, and it's absolutely fantastic. And I still go on and give strategic advice to my clients. So it's one thing that maybe I don't necessarily agree with Mr. Justice on, but I absolutely believe that the right tool can only speed up your work and give more value to your clients. But I also wanted to say that it will be a tool that you can use to give back to your team, because you may have heard that within our team, we've implemented a 4-day week. And it is because we are able to work efficiently, and because everyone is on board, because everyone wants to participate and use those tools. We focus on the outcome on the results. That is why we are actually able to then have a bit more time for our families and for our hobbies, for things that we want to do. So I think it's small changes, but they can give you quite big benefits and amazing results for your clients and for the team.
Wow, well, quite a rallying cry for adoption there. But there is a big elephant in the room, right? And Zoe, you obviously are going to get the elephant in the room, which is how transparent do we need to be with clients about the utilization of these tools? Does the client need to know that you've had a note-taking bot do it for you? You know, where is the line and where do you draw it? And talk to me a bit about that transparency of communication.
Absolutely, 100% transparent all the time about everything. If you're transparent, you can't go wrong. And then they can make their own decision. It's all about giving people options, isn't it, right? I'm not the best lawyer for everybody. Lubna's not the best lawyer. None of us are the best lawyer for everybody. And if they don't want AI, I mean, at the moment, we haven't really got anything. So there we go. I told you I only learned about it last 3 weeks. But if they don't want AI to be used, then they can go to a firm that isn't using it. If they are given the information, it also gives them agency, doesn't it? Because if they say, well, okay, you're using Note Taker or you're using whatever, and it's reducing your costs, and therefore I want to see that reflected in what I pay, fair enough. You know, fair enough. And if the answer to that is it's already reflected for these reasons, then you've got an open conversation about it. Otherwise, everybody's uncertain. Everyone doesn't know what's quite going on. I think this idea of like hiding what we're doing is really grim, actually. It's really patronizing. A bit like Mostyn saying that solicitors are pointless. Patronizing. Right, anyway.
Can I just come in on that, actually, Matthew? Because I think Zoe makes a really, really good point. And actually, clients are way ahead of lawyers when it comes to AI. You know, they are using it. Clients are using AI themselves. You know, there are websites. We had very recently the SRA approved the first AI website, and I won't give the name of the website or whatever, but you know, it got lots of publicity in the legal press. You know, clients are already using websites that are using AI tools. They are looking for information themselves. They're already Googling, this is my problem, what can I do? They go to TikTok. We've got so many lawyers on TikTok now giving basic legal advice. You know, technology is way ahead of where a lot of lawyers are. You know, clients will now go online is the first place they go when they have a problem. They don't ring a lawyer. They don't go they go online. They put in, this is my problem. What can I do? What are my options? And then they might think, right, okay, this is, you know, might be a bit complicated, need to go to whatever. But clients are way ahead of us. So I think Zoe's absolutely right. I think, you know, if you're telling clients, well, actually, we are using an AI tool, I don't think it's going to come as a big surprise to them. And actually, it's going to reduce costs for them. That's what they want to see. It's going to cost me less. It's not going to cost me more. You're not going to have a lawyer that's spending 5 hours in a library researching X, Y, Z. They can do it in seconds and give me an answer because they've got access to, and I go back to not the wild, wild west of AI. They will have access to a secure, ring-fenced, quality standard platform where they know that the resource, well, the clients might not know it, but the lawyer knows, I know where the resources are coming from to give me the answer to my question. And so, yeah, sorry, I had to come in there because I think Zoe makes a really good point, but I think it won't surprise clients to hear the answer that, yeah, we are using it, actually. Yeah. And it's going to save you time and money.
And I think I also wanted to jump in here because I don't think clients would mind. They want the outcome, they want the results. So how are we going to arrive at it, whether we're using a tool that or another one? It's probably irrelevant. They want the security that it's the proper advice, that it's the advice that they can rely on, that there is a strategy in place that they can rely on. And yes, absolutely, clients are using tools themselves. And I've had a very good example of it when a client had made an application for permission to proceed in the English court with financial remedy proceedings after the foreign divorce. They've done it themselves, but they've admitted they've used ChatGPT to help with the application. But I think they've missed a few tricks because they had no idea what sorts of hearing they are for. What is it that it's listed? Is it a financial remedy matter that is already the substantial application, or is it the application for permission that we're going to be considering? They've missed on the point that they could have contacted the other side and tried to avoid the hearing altogether. So there is a risk that is going to be used, but there would still be a need for strategic advice and lawyers coming into place.
This is just so interesting. So let's talk about the element of that, which was pricing and the impact on pricing. I think all of you have touched on this, and I think that the story we're hearing from larger law firms is, yeah, there is a cost. We're going to pass it on to our clients essentially, and we're not really going to be changing our pricing models. What I'm hearing from you is that actually there is a much greater appetite to look to see, can we offer more and a more depth research and insight, but at an even more competitive price. Talk to me, Lubna, and maybe we'll go around to all of you because I think it's such an important topic. Lubna, what are your thoughts on pricing, and what advice might you share on that?
Yeah, I mean, I think, the day of the hourly billing is long gone. I think it's nowadays clients are much more interested in fixed fee prices, or bundling, as we used to call it. How much is it going to cost me to get this done? How much to get this bit done? How much to get this bit done? And I think using AI in the right way can really help you to give competitive prices within that kind of sphere. You can say, this is the fee because this is how long it's going to take. Well, this is how much time we'll need to spend on it. So I think pricing is changing as well. I think we are moving away from that hourly billing rate, and I think clients much prefer knowing exactly what they're going to pay for what and when and how. And I think AI can help you with that. And I know there are some AI tools out there that can actually help with billing and invoicing, because they can draw information directly from, how many emails have you sent? How long was your meeting? How long have you spent on this? How long have you spent on that? And they can literally do your time recording for you and then translate that into some kind of billing format, which you can then send to the client, which again is saving you time because you're not doing it manually or getting somebody else to do it manually for you. So I think there's a big cost saving that can be very beneficial through the use of the right AI tool.
Quite. Iwona, what about you? Right, you look like you're trying some new models.
Yes, but I think before we've had all those conversations about AI, I think about 12 months ago, I've attended a training delivered by Swan. He's the author of the Ditching of a Billable Hour. And we were talking about value-based pricing. So I think moving away from how much time do we need, because obviously we're going to need much less time to produce a document, to produce a statement or an application. But it's just moving away from how much time do I need to spend on that. But I think Zoe mentioned that the urgency, the complexity, the level of experience needed to produce a document or to progress a case will have to be taken into account more than how much time, which is going to be one of the factors, I think. But I think more so there will be other things, there should be other things that we're focusing on when pricing to our clients. But also I wanted to say that I have tried to initiate a conversation in one of the family law committee meetings at Manchester Law Society, and have asked other practitioners what they think about hourly rate versus the fixed fee. So I've been told that, there is a talk about it for the last 20 years and we're not moving really away from it. It's still there. But I think now with AI, it's going to be accelerated because of those options and because of the efficiency and how we work. I think there is more. It's more likely than ever that we're going to be moving away from hourly rates, whether we like it or not. I'm not very popular within my team because I keep saying that I want to move on and I want to have those fixed fees. So for now, we're trying to offer both and give clients an option. And surprisingly, even if the fixed fee is higher, the clients prefer the certainty and would often, almost always, prefer to go with a fixed fee rather than hourly rates charging. So yes, definitely there would be advantages to clients as well, but I would think that it's not only the time efficiency and savings that we have to be looking at when pricing based on a fixed fee, but other factors as well.
This is it's so exciting, right? This is a proper step change. So Zoe, there's been quite specifically a question about value-based pricing. So talk to us, is value-based pricing something that's now going to become realistic, or actually do we need to still look more broadly than that?
It's hard, isn't it?
I thought you'd like this one.
I mean, I've been toying with fixed fees for years and years and years, and I have tried to implement them and failed time and again. I've failed for lots of reasons. One of the things I did last year was try and develop a fast track process to get to the end of a divorce that involved 2 sets of solicitors signing up to it. And as part of that, I said we would do it on a fixed fee. And here are the bands for each of those fixed fees. And I'll tell you what, they hated it, right? They absolutely hated it. I was told that the fixes were too low by the bigger firms. They were too high by the smaller firms. It was just impossible to try and agree universally what those fees should be on a fixed basis. So that's really tricky. And then the next thing sort of feeds into both what the other two have been saying, because how do you come at what a fixed fee should be? I don't think you should start with it's this number of hours, okay? Because particularly with the way things are going, the number of hours are immaterial. Are we all worth our charge out rates? Really? Are we? But I also don't think you compete on price. So that's the other thing that I kind of am always driven by. You don't compete on price. So what are you competing on? What are you offering? Where is the value add? And I come back with value add to the relationship, to the outcome. That's what you're giving clients. That's what they're going to be coming to us for increasingly, is not the grunt work of legal preparation, litigation. And actually, I was thinking about your case, Iwona, because you've got this case where you had the litigant person, I think you said, didn't know what the hearing was.
Yes.
So in that instance, it's our expertise, our relationships with the court staff, with the courts themselves to find out what's going on. That can't be replicated at the moment. I mean, sure, if the courts get themselves in order and we don't have to deal with those kinds of relationships, because that's all, fine, great, all the better. But it's not there at the moment. So that kind of value add. It's very cheap, isn't it? But it's absolutely crucial to the case, because otherwise everyone turns up with prepared for the wrong hearing. What value do you put on that 2-minute phone call that you've spent 20 years developing the relationships with? What value do you put on having a barrister available to drop things, to deal with it at very short notice because of the 20 years of relationships that you've got with them? Those are things which are intangible, and they're certainly not related to the hours that you're going to spend working. They are related to what value is there? This one came up yesterday, to the fact that if I say I'm going to do something, for the last 20 years, I have done it, okay? And so my clients today have the benefit of when I say I'm going to do something, the other side thinks, well, she's going to do it, and isn't she? That's value add. Those are all like tiny little examples of value add that have nothing to do with the hours we put into work, and everything to do with the way the client will experience their case and experience progress during it.
Oh, absolutely. I think I wanted to also mention we've had one of the biggest cases in financial remedy cases that we've dealt with. That was based on a fixed fee. The client was absolutely not interested how many hours we are going to put into that outcome. He was offered 0 by the wife in a case that was worth about 20 million. And that was what was on the table for him. But I'm pretty sure that they, looking at the efficiency and the time that is needed to spend at the case, if we were rerun it again with the use of AI, I'm pretty sure the drafting could be more efficient. I'm pretty sure the analysis of financial data can be more efficient and quicker. But you know what it came down to? It came down to us sitting down and talking about disclosure, and the fact that obviously, again, within the information that the AI would be able to produce for the client would be the requirements for full and frank disclosure. But it's our conversation about how do we have to approach it, what do we do with the businesses that we run, and how are we going to have to open up about it and present it all, made a difference. And the outcome was, again, the assets were split 50-50. So our clients received the well-deserved share in the of the assets. But yeah, I think it can be done very efficiently. It can be done quicker, or it can take you however many hours. But if you don't have that relationship with your clients to discuss the strategy, to make the right decisions, then it's for nothing. So it's difficult to put a value on time, I would think.
Well, let me just ask a follow up on that, Iwona, because with AI, theoretically, right, you're a phenomenally good lawyer. All of you, you're very intelligent, and well, you're particularly fiercely intelligent in one person's case, right? But actually, you're going to come across bits of law that you've never had to deal with before. You're going to come across new challenges. Now, does AI give you the opportunity to expand your knowledge and your practice delivery into new areas without having to bring in specialists? Or actually, is that just a risk too far? Like, where do you sit on that spectrum?
Don't dabble. Sorry.
We'll come to you in a minute, Zoe.
I know exactly where I'm sitting on it, and I think there is always an AI, but there is also a team. And I would always start expanding from bringing in the right expert and then trying to see how we can enhance his work, how we can make it more efficient, how we can explore the opportunities that come with AI. But I would always start with having an expert within the team and then looking into expand into a new area of law. That would be always my position, at least for now.
Do you agree, Zoe?
100%. Don't dabble. It's too dangerous. And also, it's not like all the stuff that we're saying is value add. We don't value add in those areas because we haven't got that experience. Quite. So I am very mindful of the time, and we should be coming to wrap up. But Lubna, let me ask you, what things should people be thinking about in terms of measurements, right? Have you thought about how will people know what are the metrics of success as to whether or not these sorts of solutions are working and making a difference?
So I think the first thing, Matthew, is that I think people need to sort of, rather than starting with the technology, start with the strategy. So think about, forget the hype that's around AI just for the time being, and just think, where am I losing time and money? And how can I make that better? How can I make those processes better, cheaper, more accurate? So focus on what you need to improve and where you want your firm to go, where you see yourself in the long term, and how can you get there? How can you save time? How can you save money? And I know we've had a whole discussion around money. And I think it's about, if you're not used to using AI, dip your toe in very slowly. To start off with, and perhaps start dealing with non-client facing work. And for me, I would say compliance is a great place to start, because compliance is, it's a lot of template documents that you need to adapt to your practice, to your firm, to whatever it is that you're doing. So you can use AI to help you do something that might not necessarily be client facing, or even get it to draft a letter or a contract or a compliance document, and see how much time it saves you. See what the benefit is that you're getting from that. I think it's also, to start off with, if you're dealing with it in areas that you have confidence about. So, for example, what the law is on XYZ. So you can ask the tool to draft you a letter on XYZ, pre-action letter, or whatever it might be. You can actually check it then for accuracy, and you will know whether it's giving you the right answer or not. And that will help you start to get a bit of confidence with using that tool. And I think that's how you assess, is it saving you time? Is it saving you money? The key thing is that, just remember that you are always in control of it. It doesn't control you. You are in control of it. It is not giving the advice. You are giving the advice. It is not doing the work. You are doing the work. But it's like, think of it as an assistant. Instead of having a paralegal that you say, right, go off and find out XYZ for me, you can use AI to do that for you. Or, instead of saying to your assistant, go and draft this for me, use AI to do it for you. That's where you're going to see some cost savings. So, put technology second, put strategy first. Where do you want to go? How do you want to get there? And then start dipping in to see how AI can make your working life easier, and see if it is achieving, perhaps set yourself little milestones. What do I want? What do I need to see? Can I do that through using AI?
Thank you. Some very, very sound advice there. So let's bring this to a close, perhaps with a couple of key take-homes, key bits of advice. So Zoe, I'm really interested in you, as obviously you're very early on in your journey. You've done lots of research, right? What advice would you give to small law firms, or let's be honest, what advice are you going to give yourself who are just starting out on this journey?
It's not so much, yeah, right. So it's not so much advice. I'm practicing exactly what Lubna said. Actually, just test it, just try it, and download. If you haven't, download ChatGPT. Download it, play with it, ask it some questions. Start out by asking it. Actually, really simple place to start is find out about your firm. Find out what the big, wide, scary, open service says about your firm. And that's fascinating because you suddenly understand where it's drawing the information from, because you know enough about your firm and where you're leaking out information. It's on LinkedIn, it's on social media, wherever. What is it saying? And then you can start comparing your firm to, so I'm talking specifically about marketing and branding and things here, which I think is brilliant for. Compare your firm to other firms or yourself as a lawyer to other lawyers who are sort of your level, and just see what the differences are, because through that you will learn so much about what is said about you. And then you can start to think, oh, I don't really like that. And then you can start to put out other material which will elevate your profile or change it or adapt it to make it more about what you think you are, particularly if you haven't got much of a presence. It's worth actually increasing that presence to try and guide the AI to say, what about you? And something we haven't really touched upon is how I think clients are going to be using it at the outset. They're going to be using it to decide which solicitor to instruct, aren't they? Or which barrister. Probably starting with solicitors will help with barristers. But they are going to be using it. And so when you start understanding the questions that the client is going to be asking at the outset, can really help you formulate your view, or change the way you are presenting yourself, or do more of what you like it saying. I don't know if that was the question. What was the question?
I think you covered about a piece of advice or guidance, or what you're saying to yourself. I think actually you have articulated it better than I think we could possibly have hoped there. Some really good rallying calls. So Iwona, what about you? Right? Is there a nugget that you would like to share with your peers across the smaller sector, smaller firm size sector, as to what they could be thinking and doing?
I have to say that I think I just agree with Lubna and Zoe that we mustn't be afraid of the complexity of being replaced. I think we just have to embrace it. Neither I or even people dealing with AI softwares really understand how it is going to transform and change within the next few years and what it is going to be able to offer. So I don't really, even attempt to understand that. But I think at this stage, we ought to follow it, be updated, aware of what's going on, test it, measure it, and embrace it.
Brilliant. Thank you. Good advice there too. And Lubna, why don't you bring us home, right? What is the gem? And let's maybe, your role in sitting across in the Law Society, you see the whole market, right? What should you tell the leaders of smaller firms? What do they need to have their eyes open for?
I think it's actually, the legal profession is changing. It's as simple as that. And a good AI tool is going to be a competitive advantage for anyone who can use it responsibly and ethically. And it's as simple as that. I think, I've been using it. I've been amazed by the benefits that it's had. I found it, and my colleagues are saying much the same thing, incredibly useful, time-saving, can do things much faster than I can do them. I think embrace it and enjoy the benefits, because they are there.
Thank you. Well, this has been a real joy. It's not often you get such forthright, blunt honesty from a panel, and thank you very much. Anyone who wishes to relive this for posterity or re-enjoy the jokes and the feisty opinions, this is recorded. You will be able to re-watch it at a later stage. Do check out, there's the Bellwether Report, which is the source of the content for this particular webinar. It probably popped up on your screen a few moments ago. Well worth a read. So huge thank you very much to our panel. Thank you to you all for joining us, and enjoy the rest of your day.